it means that the paperwork has been done so that he can be moved, for example, from somebody whose visa has expired to somebody whose visa is now active, or somebody who did not have a particular status at a certain point in time, so he didn't have any papers, but now his status has been adjusted, so he is either a green card, he will be given a green card, or he will be moved to another status. But that has not been formalized yet. Sana, what is scary for me is that some people, according to, this is US News, who were at an event, at a ceremony, during which they will be sworn in as newly, as people who have been duly recognized, haven't gone through the process as green card holders, as people who can legally reside in the US. Before they can get into that ceremony and get the formalities done with, some of these people have been arrested by ICE and they've been sent straight to detention. And of course, from detention, they are going to be deported. So it is a case of somebody having a change of status, applying for a change of status, but before the application is formally recognized and accepted either by an immigration judge or an immigration official, the person has been detained, and the fear is that he or she will be deported.
So should we understand that to mean that Mr. Offori is seeking to extend his stay in the U.S., that voluntarily he has no intentions of coming to Ghana?
Well, if he has applied for an adjustment of status, it means he's applying to be permanently recognized as either a citizen or legal permanent resident in the U.S. And of course, when someone is a citizen of the U.S., it is difficult to go through. Well, there are extradition agreements between governments concerning who, when, how people could be extradited. And so, but if he's a citizen, or if if he has legal residence, it will be difficult. It can be done, and it will be done, but it will be difficult. It will be a long, drawn-out court case in which his lawyers would engage representatives of the government of Ghana, or lawyers who are working for the government of Ghana, in a protracted legal engagement to have him extradited. So it's going to be a long legal battle.
Is that to say that, and do you think for many people who will not be reading the statement from his lawyer saying, finally coming to the conclusion, because there are many people who've said that this man is not prepared to present himself to account for his tenure. If you read that statement from his lawyers, we're saying he's trying to adjust his stay. Should we read that meaning to it, that this is not a man ready to present himself to account for his tenure as finance minister?
Okay, let me expand the statement. From the beginning up to this point, remember from the beginning, we were told that he was in the U.S. for medical reasons, right? So he was there for medical reasons. Whatever medical reason, I have not particularly paid attention to. So does it mean that the medical reason is now resolved? Does it mean that, he is free and he is not sick and therefore can come? So yes, the conclusion people are drawing, I would argue, isn't far from the truth, that he is not ready to come to Ghana to account for his stewardship as a former Minister of Finance, under whose tenure a lot of things went wrong. And therefore, Ghanaians would like to have answers to those questions. And if there is any wrongdoing, demand that certain consequences be applied. So yes, the long story short is that the legal team is fighting to make sure that he doesn't come to Ghana.
Mm. Well, let me bring in Mr. DUMBAH at this point, because I spoke to him many times during the tenure of Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, and the questions he raised about his tenure, Mr. Ofori-Atta's tenure as finance minister. Mr. DUMBAH, can you hear me? Hello? Mr. CONRAD DUMBAH, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Fantastic. I was just talking about the fact that our conversations about Mr. Ken, if I go to my YouTube page now, I can pull out many conversations where we had about his tenure as the finance minister. First of all, a comment quickly on the statement from his lawyers. What do you think they are trying to disclose?
I think for me, their statement, the first question I asked is, why are they putting this out now? Are they trying to discourage or frustrate government's attempts to bring Ofori-Atta down? Is this a legal trick or tactic playing with the minds of Ghanaians and the Ghanaian government? And I came to the conclusion that, yes, for a number of reasons. First and foremost, Ofori-Atta is not the first Ghanaian to be engaged, or if you like, picked up by ICE. And we don't see lawyers for these people putting the matters out in the open. They go ahead and fight their case to be able to secure their stay. Secondly, what intrigues me is why a Ghanaian who served as the finance minister for our country for 8 years, or through the 8 years, will suddenly find it very has a lot of business interest in Ghana. You know, he owns a data bank, he owns a bank in Gambia. So he's got a lot of business interest, not just in Ghana, but in the West African belt. So this is not the kind of typical person you would say could be, let me use the term, a fugitive from justice, or should be interested in fighting in the U.S. if they are truly interested in federal justice and holding themselves to account in Ghana. So I think that this is just a legal trick the team is playing. And I think that the Attorney General or government of Ghana should not be, if you like, bothered about this. The procedure should continue. In any case, if he's under ICE, now is the time for us to put in and tell ICE that he's wanted in Ghana to answer questions. So they should send him down to us. Simple.
I see. Then I guess from listening to you, I'm one of those who be praying that I should deport him before this thing succeed.
For alleged crimes. So if he's got immigration issues in the U.S. as well, it's as simple as that. Send him back home. Let him go and answer charges. It's as simple as that. There's no witch hunting. I believe the Attorney General has already engaged the Department of Justice in the U.S. on the Ofori-Atta extradition matter. So now they've got him in detention. It's a good opportunity to rid themselves of him and send him back to the land of his birth to account for his fellow compatriots. So not necessarily a prayer, but a request that the natural course of justice be allowed to prevail. Considering short of that and attempting to keep him in the U.S. shielded from justice and accountability in Ghana is unacceptable.
And I'm wondering for you what he has to answer for. I know there's currently a case being pursued by the Office of Special Prosecutor. When the question is asked, so why are you people so interested in bringing him to Ghana? To answer for what? For you, what would that be?
One of them is SML. You notice he's not the only one charged. There are a number of others as well that have been charged by the OSP in connection with SML. That's one of the charges against him, you know. And he won't be the first. There are others as well that are on the Attorney General's radar, you know. So for me, the case is not like there's nothing called witch hunting, you know. His role in the SML saga is well documented. He has got enough money to secure adequate legal representation in Ghana. He is not like you and I that will lead legal aid or anything at all. And he should not be scared of justice. He is so-called in quotes a powerful man. you know, so he should not be scared. After all, previous appointees have been held to account under the SYL administration, and he's not the only one currently being arraigned before court on charges of corruption and causing financial loss to the state. You have Wontumi. You know, Wontumi could have also left the shores of Ghana. And in fact, Wontumi left the shores of Ghana after the lost power, the MPP lost power, spent some time in Croydon in London, but went back to different about Offori. He's not any more special than any other Ghanaian. We're all equal, are all supposed to be equal before the law. So it's not a case of people praying for his downfall or taking delight in him being prosecuted. To be prosecuted is not to be necessarily mean that you are guilty. Come and answer your charges. And if you are to be set free and absolved of all charges, so be it. But if you are found guilty as well, then you sing the tune.
Well, and that was one of the issues that for Professor Abaka yesterday, when I was speaking to him, was important that is pursued much more aggressively by this government in its second year. The issue of holding former appointees accountable. 1 year on, do you, as chairman of the NDC in UK, Ireland, think that your party in government has done a good job in fulfilling that promise of Operation Recovering All Loots?
And I think that we all think that they say justice was grind, the wheels of justice grind very slowly, but surely. 2025 was a good foundation, in my view, on the legal front. We have had a number, bear in mind, it's not just Acoountability. There are many others, right from the Papa Stock gentleman through Wontumi to National Service. And these scandals are huge and they are complicated. Take the SML scandal, for example. It's not a straightforward thing. It's a fairly complicated one. And therefore, you need to take your time to investigate. You know, even basic audits of large companies, you know, due to complexity, can sometimes take the best part of a whole year. And so it was important that both the Attorney General and the Office of Special Prosecutor do their due diligence, make sure they have an airtight, rock-solid seat, you know, when they go doesn't collapse. What we don't want is rat justice or kangaroo justice. That Offori must answer, that Wontumi must answer, that Anan must answer, that Ituware must answer for their actions in government in respect of positions they held and how they did or did not use them to enrich themselves at the expense of the state. Does not mean them we mean that. It doesn't mean that they should be condemned without fair trial. They should be condemned without due process, or they should be condemned without being heard from. And I believe that I am gladdened by the fact that many judges have made it a point not to unnecessarily believe the case. To do the due diligence. So that when they think this good, a couple of months ago, about Attorney General to court, no, not last year, 2024, where cases were arrived by the then Attorney General Godfrey Dami to court without adequate preparation, without adequate evidence, only to then start reaching out to some of the prosecutors, you trying unethically to turn them against other prosecutors. That is unethical, that's unacceptable. And that is not the way we want to exact justice or accountability from any former government appointee. We want to follow due process, and I agree with the Attorney General, the Honorable Akurutina Ayine, when he says that we want to have a solid docket, a solid piece with all the supporting evidence, so that when we go to court, we are all
Hello, Mr. Duma. Okay.
Yes, why is nobody in jail? It's because due process must take its place. However, this that has been laid so far, this year, we should see people being prosecuted and if found guilty, have put of time taken away from them, and then made to serve time at the pleasure of the Ghanaian people in jail.
Because I guess you are one of those, because you are an executive of the party, and I'm sure you've been answering questions about. There are many people from within the NDC who will say, the press conferences are too much. We are not seeing action. We want to see a lot more action. Are these issues that people say from even within your ranks? And how do you respond to those things when they are raised?
So, and they say an opinion is like a note, and everybody's entitled to one. So there are some who say, listen, we don't want you on press conferences. We want you to just go and lock them up for us. That's all. What we do, and we are all different. You know, to be informed, things happen. There are some results. Tell me how you are making that plan. I just want to see it on my table. Meanwhile, there are some Ghanaians who want transparency at way, who want to ensure that they are fully following. And I think the Attorney General is playing, is walking a tightrope and is playing very and keeping Ghanaians abreast with what is happening. There is nothing in his press conferences that suggests that he is not proceeding with prosecution. No. And there is nothing also that suggests that the press conferences would undermine the prosecution that is ongoing. If anything, what you notice is that our opponents have been making a song and dance on the arrest of Wuntumi, on the charges against Offori and many of their others, claiming that there are no charges worthy to be labeled on them, claiming that it is all much ado about nothing. But the moment the Attorney General comes out and spells out the charges against them, the evidence that has been seen so far, it puts most of those people to flight. It keeps them quiet. It assures most of us Ghanaians that something is actually happening. Because if nothing is happening, you can't keep talking about nothing. If you keep talking about nothing, we will find out. But once he comes to tell us these are the accusations, this is the work we have done, this is the kind of evidence we've seen so far, these are the charges we have pressed, and if we need to update those charges, we'll do so. I think it is part of that dual-headed beast called transparency and accountability. Hold them to account, and as you hold them to account, also be transparent in how you hold them to account. Because if Offori was transparent, if Wuntumi was transparent, what we are seeing now will not be happening. And therefore, as justice is being done, it also has to be seen to be done. And it's the seen to be done element that involves us being notified, being informed periodically of the state of prosecution, key updates, and so on and so forth. The Honorable Attorney General and his deputy are on the case, very competent, and so far has been thrown out because anything like that. So I want to assure Ghanaians, listen, we appreciate the Attorney General because he's working and he's keeping us informed. He's minister. And so we appreciate that for the first time, we have an Attorney General who is so confident in his case that he's able to discuss it with the good people of Ghana, all of us, periodically whilst he proceeds. Let's support him. Let's not despair. I didn't expect any of those cases to be slammed in 6 months. Now we found ambitious, but we will see in many cases. It's the periodic press conference. Yes, he's getting on with the job and he's still keeping us informed. That's what we should clamor for.
Well, and I'll come back to you shortly because of the matter of luck that has been raised, especially because I think one of the major, one of the most impressive performance put up by the government is in the area of the economy. So I'll come back to you shortly. But before that, Prof, do you think those who talk about, well, the press conference there, we are not interested. All we want is that you've caught the person. Go and put the person before court, prosecute the person, jail them. That's what we are interested in. Do you think the press conference serves a purpose?
Well, Senator, the wheels of justice turn slowly. The wheels of justice turn very slowly. It's a slow process, and I totally agree with Comrade DUMBAH's submission, right? The work has to be done thoroughly so that the case will not fall apart in court. If it does, then what is the point, right? So that is one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is going by what the NPP is saying about these cases, right? They have monopolized the media space to a large extent, and they are very vocal, and they are saying all kinds of things. And therefore, it is very important for the Attorney General to inform the good people of Ghana as to what is going on. If there is no information in the media space, then whatever is put out there becomes the running narrative of the day. And, you know, the Goebbels playbook, one aspect of it, if you keep on saying something, keep on saying it in the public domain, people will take it as the gospel truth. And so it is important for the Attorney General to inform the good people of Ghana periodically as to what is going on, how he is proceeding, etc., etc. So I've had the same conversations with some people, and I've, you know, in a matter of 2 years, 2 years or more is when, in all likelihood, you know, some concrete results might be achieved, will be achieved. Concrete in terms of a case going through the court system and eventually reaching a verdict in which X or Y or Z is found guilty of malfeasance or for wanton dissipation of the resources of the nation or for stealing large sums of money, etc., etc. So, yes, this is the conundrum. Justice is slow. Effective justice, that is the case goes through a thorough investigation and prosecution rather than a summary justice. But, you know, for me, one of the things that I wonder about is whether the J.A. Kufuor fast-track system of handling cases could also be adopted in this instance. You know, I'm not a lawyer, so I am not sure, but I'm wondering whether that could also expedite cases that have been investigated and that have, you know, come to the point where they could easily go to the courts.
I see. Well, and then let me now move to the issue of the other aspects of the governance. There are many things to talk about, but then one of the big issues has been the matter of the economy. Prof, do you think there's an element of lack, there can be an element of lack in governance?
If it's only luck, then we don't have to do anything as a people. We don't have to do anything as a government. Any government can be in luck, if that is what they are saying. Luck by itself doesn't necessarily exist. If there is no effort, if there is no performance, one can be assisted by certain headwinds, but the performance has to be made first. And so those who are arguing that the economic performance of this government is a matter of luck are unfortunately trying to downplay the good work, the excellent work that has been done by the finance minister, Dr. Atta, by the governor of the Bank of Ghana, and by the chair of the Gold Board, Mr. Sami Jemfi, and by the long-term strategic thinking of the government. You know, the economic situation in Ghana has historically gone through cycles of boom and bust. And one of the reasons I would argue was the lack of a long-term strategic plan. What this government has in place, what the NDC has in place, or what the NDC has done following the manifesto all through governance up to this point, is a long-term strategic plan designed to ensure that the economy does not tank. One, the issue of reckless borrowing or fiscal irresponsibility has been one of the problems that we have faced as a nation. Excessive borrowing without regard to how we are going to pay. That is one very important element of it. The other element of it, as I indicated yesterday, you look at all the scandals that went on during the 8 years of the NPP. Look at those scandals. Look at the amounts of money involved, individuals, organizations. How much money did they appropriate? How much money did they embezzle? How much money? If you put all of that together, it is staggering and it is scary. How much COVID-19 money came into the country? How much COVID-19 money was raised in the country? What happened to those monies? The cathedral issue, how much is involved? The buffer stock issue. I mean, if you look at the amounts involved, you cannot tell me that it can, you get lucky and you can manage the economy this way. It's the discipline that has gone into managing the economy. Even when it comes to borrowing, again, we were talking not long ago about the issue of Offori Atta. There is one aspect of getting what? I don't know whether it is performance bonuses or getting percentages as legal fees, whatever it is, of all these loans. So what? The nation was taking loans and people were getting what? Some monies for being intermediaries or for being the conduits through which the loans came. I mean, the cumulative effect of all of those was that the economy was in tatters, was that the economy was bleeding. And that is why there had been serious problems over the past 8 years. But if this government, if the NDC is not doing the same thing, how can you then attribute the economic performance to lack? The monies that were missing from the Bank of Ghana or that could not be accounted for. I mean, all those are not issues that one can look at and say, there is no lack. You are lucky when you perform. You are lucky when you do well. And what the NDC has done is to operationalize what the NPP used to say. We have the men, we have the men. Where were the men? Now, here are the men. The men are doing the work. And now you are saying it's like, no, there's no such thing. If they are not performing, remember the famous statement, if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. This line everybody knows in Ghana. What is the exchange rate saying? It means that the fundamentals are strong and will get stronger based on the type of policies that the government has put in place. Look at the big push. What is it doing? Injecting money into the economy, ensuring that the infrastructure of this nation, right, is up to par. And this infrastructure development promotes economic activities, facilitates economic activities, facilitates movements of goods, of people, services, etc., etc. We're told, one could not eat infrastructure, and yet people were taking credit for work that had already been done. So no, it's the hard work of this government, it's the efficient work of this government that is achieving the economic stability that we are seeing, the economic success that we are seeing, the economic euphoria that people are feeling in terms of being able to decent way of life. So no, there's nothing like luck in managing. If we look at contracts, for example, the ECG contract, right? Cables that had been imported and supposed to serve the country for what, about 50 years? I mean, how is that an economic, part of a serious economic management effort? No. So the economy is good because the government is doing well. The people put in place square pegs in square holes or round pegs in round holes, and they are doing the work for which they had been assigned. A lean government doing the work that a bloated government, right? I mean, even look at that alone in terms of the resources involved. What, 56 cabinet, 56 ministers versus 126 ministers? Look at the difference, even in terms of the amount of money involved in that alone. And so, no, it's prudent management of the economy. It's efficient management that is yielding the results that we are seeing today.
I see. Now, let me turn to Mr. Dumbah, and I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic. And I'm going to prelude my question with 2014. In 2014, the government had come to, I think 2013, come to the people of Ghana with a budget. And they had put before the budget was heavily reliant on revenues from oil. Then all of a sudden, the oil prices started to tank, forcing the government to go back and review that budget. Started what was then known as, I think there was commodity crisis. That created some difficulties for the government. If someone says you're running on luck, is it not to say that you are not faced with any of those things?
Well, I get myself strongly with the famous phrase that says that fortune favors the bold, or opportunity comes to those who are prepared. What does it mean? If an opportunity arises, you go looking for jobs, and then suddenly, right behind your house, a new clinic is built, and an opportunity exists to hire a nurse. If you are not a nurse, you cannot take advantage of that job. If you are a nurse, for you, you would say what is a blessing in disguise. A job has just come up, or should I say a blessing in reality. A job has just come up in your area, in your expertise. That's what they want is exactly what you have. And that same opportunity were to come, you won't be able to enroll as a nurse, a registered nurse, if you haven't got any nursing qualifications. So in the circumstances of the nurse, would you say it's your luck? Because you have the skills that match what was required, and therefore that was your luck. Equally, if you go to the market and suddenly the prices of, let's say, the price of milk down, say 350 cedi. If you have 350 cedi in your pocket, you are able to seize that opportunity. Will we call that luck? If the price even goes down to 1 that luck, the point here is that a government that is prepared is able to take advantage of low fuel prices, as you have said, or commodity prices. If you look at the history of, let me use fuel price for example, because the MPP will argue that, look, there are low fuel prices because you have low international crude oil prices. At some point, somewhere around 2022, the price of a barrel of crude oil came down between 2018 to date. At some point, it came down to about $42 per barrel. And we were in this country. Incidentally, at the same time in late 2022, when the price of crude was low, the 12 cedi in terms of liter of fuel in this country. What was responsible? That was the same time when 52% inflated. That was the same time that we declared bankruptcy, September 2022, where we were unable to pay. So we couldn't take advantage of the price of rock bottom $62 a barrel fuel price. As we speak today, it's around $62 a barrel. Barely a year ago, from the beginning of the year, it was around about 70. When the MPP was in government about 2024, it was around the same 70 mark. But we didn't see a market reduction in the price of what? Fuel. It is a combination of what? The low prices of on the international market, but also a strong currency. It's about that. Incidentally, the MPP had a goal for program. And premises are not so different from the good. Here is the difference. We recognize that the oil we are looking at out, you import using your reserve. And so instead of doing better things as they did, if you did good for oil, you are the price. It didn't have any significant impact on your inflation. It didn't have any significant impact on your exchange rate to a large extent. But we using the good steel, sure that those companies deployed into their economy. In other words, when we need dollars to import into the country, government of Ghana makes that available. If you don't need dollars to import, dollars are not given to you to flood the system and create a higher supply, a higher demand for it that will have an impact on the city. So this was carefully deliberate monetary policy. In addition to what we do with the proceeds of the gold, we all know the previous government elements in it, gold were being diverted, left in offshore bank accounts, and whatever came in Ghana was maintained. That is fiscal discipline, in financial discipline in this context where there is good control on the proceeds of gold. It's put into our reserves. We are able to deploy these reserves to satisfy the demand for the currency, and it's a case of demand and supply. If there's enough dollars in the system, the city will be stronger. If there's insufficient dollars in the system, you will end up needing more dollars to procure the same. The price of the dollar will go high if you have fewer of them in the system. By keeping large reserves that allows you to have a sufficient amount, then you're able to maintain the price low. What does that then do? That then feeds through the entire chain. It's called the system. The system is made of different parts. And so you realize that we have been able to the currency with reserves, right? The $8.9 billion they left us to $13.8 billion. So even though we have been using the reserves, it has gone up. And that defeats the whole argument against that we are exhausting the nation's reserve. How do you exhaust reserve in support of a currency? By using it for intermediation and at the same time see an increase in it by over 4 billion. That tells you something is happening there. Now, this particular one, because the dollar is low, if at the time the MPP left, the dollar was at 17 cedis to the cedi was at 17 to the dollar, and a price of the of oil into Ghana for use by Stellar Enterprise was 17 because it's $1 in the international market, and if your exchange rate is 17, then it means that the price in Ghana will be 17 based purely on the exchange rate. Now, by exchange rate being managed down to 10.2 as we speak, or even let's give it some grace and say 11. Let's assume it still stays at $1 in the international market, and you are still importing that same just $1 liter every year. Now, you are not paying 17 cedis for it, but because of exchange rate, you are paying 11 cedis for it. So you have saved yourself 6 cedis, which you can redeploy to something better. Additionally, it means that the country has come down by that 6 cedis, and that one reduces inflation. So you can see the strength of the currency in itself led to a disinflationary effect. It has reduced inflation from 23.7% to about 6.8% as of last count. This cannot be luck. This is a deliberate policy that is used to strengthen the cedi and stabilize it, whose see-through effect has been lowering inflation. Now, bear in mind that inflation is a crucial element in calculation of interest rates. Okay. Because when you are determining the interest to lend to anyone, if I come and borrow money from you, you will add your profit to make to it. You will now versus the value of your money when I give it back to you in 6 months. And if you are convinced that in 6 months the value of the 100 cedi you are giving me will come down by 6%, in other words, it will depreciate by 6%, you will load that onto your interest. So your interest is a factor of your inflation rate. Inflation is coming down. It means that the inflation rate within interest rate is also coming down. Hence, we see it from 28% down to about 15% now. This is deliberately crafted policy. This is not happy, good, happy make policy. Any of the good way of seeing that beyond our needs. That's the difference. When you go, maybe you have to pay back in dollars. Maybe you have to exchange more cedis for dollars to pay your debt rather than use those dollars the necessary transactions that we need. So you will find that all of that people engage in fiscal consolidation. The brothers, yeah, not spending. What we need is that they will say to us the honorable to a person, but only what we needed to feed. He was not engaging in wanting projects like Sky3, like SML, and sampling money out. He only made sure Ghanaians were cutting our coat according to our cloth, meaning that we did not have excessive debt overhang that would lead to further pressure on our currency. If you look at that fiscal consolidation and the prudent monetary policies that were being taken by the central bank, the combination of that is what we are seeing as the economic miracle, where you have reduced inflation, as I've explained, prices of basic goods like millet, maize, for example, that our banku, our kimchi, our the price of it a year to last December was around 700 cedis. After last December, it was down by half to about 350 cedis. That because of the disinflationary effect. And so this is not you just got that. Before it have been low, $2, $20 less than it is today on the market. We have been luckier before in what? International team. Not to the benefit of Ghanaians because the managers of the economy were not managing it for the good of Ghana, they were rather managing it for their own personal interest. And so I disagree with the lack element. Yes, there might be some element of we are lucky, but we are taking advantage of the lack because we are prepared. Then if we didn't do the things we did, and we didn't have good work to ensure that we are bringing all our goods to one group, and that's the key thing. Because in the past, we didn't know. We took this that and we look in our books and it's only 1 billion.
Okay.
We have closed that the exit points, and therefore the water in this economic boat is all coming down towards the exit that we wanted to, and we are taking advantage of it for the benefit of Ghanaians. So I don't believe that, yes, there may be an element of luck, but we have taken advantage of that luck to turn our economic fortunes around. What it tells us is that management is key. Singapore had no resources. It was because of the management style and foresight of Yi and Liu that they were able to make progress. In the same way, Ghana inherited by President Mahama was exactly the same Ghana that Akuouado left in a battered state, with hyperinflation at some point 52%, coming down to 23% when he was leaving office, with exchange rate pushing for 8 thereabouts, and we need for it. Today, the last $50 that President Offori took as a Eurobond several years ago, because we've got to stage where Eurobond debts, where because of prudent financial management, we are not wasting money at the the key metrics of the economy in favor, bringing inflation down, bringing the exchange rate for the city down, bringing prices of goods and services down. This cannot be luck. If you are lucky and the opportunity comes and you don't turn up for it, it will not happen.
Okay.
What we are seeing is prudent economic management and not luck.
Okay. I need to be bringing this to a close, and I also realize that Mr. DUMBAH is on the move. So I will just conclude with Prof. And but so far, 1 year on, Mr. DUMBAH, what over 10? How would you rate the government?
Nothing is perfect. I wouldn't go and say 10 over 10. I my government about 9 over 10 because the boxes I needed ticked, I can see they have been ticked.
9 over 10.
I will put them 9 over 10 on the economy. On other areas, I can probably go about 8.5 to 9. But I will give my government an A plus if I'm looking at this as a semester by semester basis. And I know that this was the year of foundation, the most difficult year. Now the foundation is solid. It's a case of maintaining and improving. And I'm confident that the government will do that. If you listen to Ghanaians, we have over 56% of Ghanaians are happy and have confirmed that their cost of living, their economic circumstances has improved. That is a huge amount. That's in everything. You look at the confidence in the economy has gone through the roof. You look at the confidence in President Mahama's governance. Over 60% of Ghanaians are happy that President Mahama is doing very well. So for me, the president has ticked off all the boxes in this year, especially on the front of the economy. And you know what, as Bill Clinton famously said, is the economy stupid. It's as simple as that. It is the economy. Nothing more, nothing less. And if people can afford food, if food becomes more affordable, the cost of living is low. It's what democracy is all about.
Okay.
Just rappers around the streets. But the actual street is the economic salvation. And I'm confident that the government has done excellent. I give an A plus to the governor of the Bank of Ghana. I give an A plus to Offori, Honorable. I give an A plus to President Mahama for the sterling management that has turned our economy around from a dire situation to not just a situation of hope, but of real economic progress, of low cost of living, and putting money back in the pockets of Ghana. We woke up on the 1st of January. For the first time, the government has put back $5.3 million in the pockets of Ghanaians by scrapping COVID levy, by streamlining national health insurance levy, and streamlining the gas fund levy to ensure that these are now deductible by merchants so that it no longer counts as a cost to them. I think that is what we want. We want more of the same, and I'm confident that in this 2026, we will get more, not just more of the same, but we'll even get better. So I look my government an A plus on this in 2025.
And that's CONRAD DUMBAH. Let me now come to Prof. Prof, you are an academic. The way you award marks. So I want to find out, would you rate the government as high as Mr. DUMBAH has?
Okay. Let me make a statement and then I'll give you the grade. What did the government set out to do from the beginning? What did the government say during the period of electioneering? What did the government set out to do? Well, the government set out what it called a reset agenda, isn't it? And the reset agenda was simply this: to revive the economy. That's what the reset is all about. Now, so in terms of reviving the economy, this will be the conclusion. The signs of economic recovery are noticeable. The signs of economic recovery are obvious. The signs of economic recovery are evident. The signs of economic recovery are tangible. People are feeling it. Just take the price of fuel. People are feeling it because now they have to pay less at the pump, as opposed to having to pay more at the pump every, couple of weeks, right? So in terms of the economy, I agree with my colleague, and I'll give the government 9/10. It's prudent fiscal management, discipline in borrowing, discipline in spending, and cutting costs, cutting wastage out of the system. So I'll give the government 9/10, and then in other areas I'll give the government 8/10 because it's, again, work in progress. This is only 1 year, which means that it can even get better, right? It can even get better. So I'll rate the government that way because, the signs of recovery are everywhere and Ghanaians are feeling it. And that is what the whole thing is about.
A big thank you to you, Professor EDMUND ABAKA. He's a professor of history and African studies based in the US. And of course, Mr. Acoountability is chairman of NDC UK Ireland. Join us on the line this morning for a discussion, the very first of many discussions that we'll have on the matter of the first year of the NDC administration. When we are talking about the economy on specific issues, we'll get back in touch with Chairman DUMBAH. And then when we start talking about issues with governance and education, which are, I know, are topics that are very germane to the heart, dear to the heart of Professor Abaka, I'll get him involved. Thank you, gentlemen. And I wish you the best of the day.
Thank you, and a good morning to you, listeners.
Well, taking us to exactly 41 minutes past 8. We'll find out if Bo Bachman of the now UP Plus, United Party, agrees with this high rating of the John Mahama administration, and also whether one of the most critical NDC people I know when it comes to actually doing an assessment of the government, Ni Yaboy Annan, will also agree with this rating that has been given by Prof and Chairman CONRAD DUMBAH of the UK Ireland wing of the NDC. We'll find that out.